lads, let's have your glasses now, please.
Oh, right.
Don't speak, you, will you?
I've got nowt civil to say.
Well, don't say it then. Mrs. Walker, I'm locking up. Ta, lads.
Yeah.
See ya.
Leave it a moment, Fred. I'm expecting someone. And don't you go, Bet. I want a word with you.
Well, it is still my day off, Mrs. Walker, which I have been working.
I know precisely what you've been doing, and I'm grateful to you, but I do not intend to remain grateful for the rest of my life. Let her in, it's Elizabeth.
Thank you. Want to see me, Mrs. Walker?
Yes, I do. Will you all go through? Shut the door, Fred, and sit down.
I hope you're not going to ask us to kiss and make up, Mrs. Walker, because I'm not in the mood.
Me neither.
Quite honestly, I don't care what you do. I am concerned with this business, my business, this public house. Now, you all saw what happened out there tonight. Customers are leaving because of the atmosphere caused by your stupid squabbles.
There's nothing stupid about it, Mrs.
As far as
Walker.
I'm concerned, that is precisely the word for them. Customers are leaving because it is not possible to have a pleasant evening's entertainment there, and I, for one, don't blame them.
Can't blame me, Mrs. Walker.
I blame you all. And I've called you here tonight to say just this. Either you come in to work tomorrow morning and carry out your duties cheerfully and to the best of your abilities, or you find your way to the nearest job centre. I shall have no difficulty in finding people to take your place. And when I say cheerful, I mean cheerful, because I do not intend to listen to another word of bickering. Not one single word. Well,
I didn't want to cause any trouble, Miss... But I'm not having my private life
that is
bandied about.
precisely what I'm saying. Bet.
Well, I won't start anything, Mrs. Walker. And God help anybody who does.
Fred.
Well, you know me, Mrs. Walker. Anything for a quiet life.
Bet.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Walker.
Right. It's peace, then. Albeit an uneasy one.
Annie Walker in full cry, a formidable sight. Hello and welcome to the Coronation Street collection, a series of videos about the characters who live in the street. This time I want to spend some time concentrating on a very special person, Annie Walker, the landlady of the Rovers' Return. As we've just seen, Annie was in total control of the Rovers. She ran it on her own, helped, or sometimes hindered, by Betty, Bet and Fred. During the next 90 minutes or so, we'll see many different sides to Annie's character. But let's go back to the beginning. Annie Beaumont met Jack Walker in 1935, and they married in 1937. They took over the Rovers' Return in 1939, so when Coronation Street first started in 1960, Annie was firmly established in the pub and was more than a match for Jack and her more truculent customers.
That'll be 4 and a penny. Here's your mild.
Hang on, it's here somewhere.
I'll have 20 fags too.
That'll be 4 and 7pence halfpenny altogether.
That's for mile, I'll give you about 6 another time.
I'm afraid you won't.
What's up? Don't you trust me or something?
That's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's the rule of the house.
Rule of the house.
What are you gawping at?
I'm not gawping at anything.
So long as we know.
Know what?
Oh, give over, do.
Yeah. Was yesterday your birthday?
Does it look like flaming June?
Hey, I'm a bit out of my depth here. Now, come on, Annie. Enough's enough. What have I forgotten to do?
Who said you'd forgotten to do anything?
Hey, give me strength. Well, what you going on about?
I have not said a word.
No, and it'd be better if you did.
All right. That's what I'm going on about.
Oh.
Well, you might say, oh.
It's just a bit of fun.
A bit of fun? Tucked away at the back of your bowling bag?
Oh, Jimbo.
Oh, I've heard about fellas of your age. They go off the rails. You want to watch it?
Now, look, I've told you, it was a bit of fun, that's
I
all.
can just see you going into the shop to buy it. All I hope is you had the decency to get it somewhere away from here, that's all.
I didn't go in no shop.
You got it on the market for all the world to see?
No, somebody give it me.
Oh.
I'm not going telling tales and getting anybody into trouble.
Oh. Well, when you next see her, give her my kind regards. And tell her she's welcome to you.
Oh, you're talking ridiculous, Annie, plain ridiculous.
Am I? What about that new sports jacket, then?
What about it?
You've never bought a sports jacket in December in your life before.
Well, it fitted me, price was right, I had money in my pocket.
How to impress somebody.
I don't know what's got into you, straight I don't. I've never heard the like of this in my life before.
London Lovelace, number 4. That's what's got into me. And until you come out with a proper explanation, I'm going on thinking worst.
Annie's desire not to be let down in front of the neighbours was coupled with her need to improve her standing in the trade. So when the post of chair lady at the Lady Licensed Victuallers became vacant, Annie was determined that she should fill it. Unfortunately, this meant inviting her rival Nellie Harvey to tea.
You know, Jack, if I am to become chairman of the Ladies' Licensed Victuallers, it's very important that I should enlist Mrs. Harvey's support.
Ah, it's sunk in. Don't worry. After 12 hours solid chunring about no else, you've made your point.
And to get that support, love, we must impress her.
Oh, well, you're not doing so bad, are you, considering she's not even here?
And so that I can impress her,
Go on, what are you getting at?
well, Jack, when she comes, love, you will leave all the talking to me.
Annie, love, you can set your mind at rest. In 28 years of married bliss, when have I had the chance not to?
Right, Jack. That's it. 3 o'clock, 0.
Oh, I thought you were coming at 4.
3 o'clock closing time throughout the length and breadth of the land as laid down by the licensing laws at present in force.
Well, what do you want me to do now? Shout time and chuck all these customers out?
Now, don't be contrary, not in your new waistcoat. You go and lock up.
Oh, all right.
Oh, I've got a full hour for a lovely hot bubble bath.
Sorry, we're closed.
And then I'll put my face on, and then I'll do my crowning glory.
Try again at 5 o'clock. Oh, hold on.
Never mind, hold on, Jack. If that's Len Fairclough and his cronies up to their tricks, we're not having them in. You can go and whistle. Try the back door of the Flying Horse.
We'll soon see.
Mrs. Harvey.
Hello, Anne.
Oh, you've taken me completely by surprise.
Jackie, well, how are you?
Jackie.
Hello, Nellie, love, still as bonny as ever, eh?
Flatterer. Honestly, you can keep your David Nivens.
Jack, I didn't know that you and Mrs. Harvey, you never mentioned, I didn't know that you
Oh,
and Jack.
indeed, yes. We're old dancing partners, aren't we, Jackie?
Yes.
Ah, when was it? Oh, Licensed Victuallers Ball, year before last.
3 St. Bernard waltzes in a row. Oh, and doesn't he look smart? Yes, but then he always looks smart, your husband.
I must apologise for my appearance, Mrs. Harvey, but you've taken me rather by surprise. I mean, I'm never so déshabillé at 3 in the afternoon. but...
Well, I'm sorry I'm early, and I should have let you know.
That's all right, love, don't you fret.
But I thought you might like to look over the Ladies' Committee's recommendations on cold buffet catering.
Oh, yes, indeed. Any help I can give to the committee in
Mind
any
you, if
way,
I'd known
I'd
that
only
my
contribute.
Jackie was going to be here, I'd have brought me dancing thumps. Shall we go through?
Ah, straight through the glass doors into the Paladin dance.
Cheeky. Oh, honestly, you can keep your Lionel Blaze. Oh, I did have a good time.
Nellie, love, it was semi-finals, and it was up to me, you see, till the fellas would nearly sitting on top at Jack. Do you see much ground green bowling?
Well, no, but I can picture it. Go on.
So I said to myself, Jack, I said, big match temperament, that's what you need. It's either him or thee.
Or you.
Pardon?
Him or you. Jack accidentally said or thee. You know, dear, I'm sure Mrs. Harvey isn't interested in your bowling exploits.
Well, go on. What happened?
Well, I said, oh, well, if I win, all well and good. And if I lose, well, it's only another cup less round it to polish.
Honestly. Oh, he's a comic, isn't he? You can keep all your Jimmy Tarbuck.
You know, Mrs. Harvey, on reflection, I rather veer to the opinion that point 2 should be emphasised more forcibly. That is, if you concur, of course.
Point 2
I mean,
of
with
what,
your
love?
experience. Oh, the committee's recommendations on buffet catering. You see, from my knowledge of the trade,
Well, come on, don't keep me in suspense. Who won?
I did. Mind you, the sun was in my eyes when I did it.
Oh, go on. Congratulations. Oh, I do like a man to be active.
Yes, well, of course, one has to encourage them. Now, point 2, in accordance with the Food and Drug Acts, which, of course...
Now, my Arthur, you know, is different again. Can I get him out of that armchair? Do you know, I think the only exercise he ever gets is driving to the Rotary meetings once a month.
A little more strawberry flan, Mrs. Harvey. It is homemade.
Well, what about the master of the house?
Hey?
A little more for you, Jackie, or do you athletes have to keep in strict training?
Well, actually, Jack hasn't got a sweet tooth. Do you know he wouldn't care if he never saw another cake or strawberry?
I'll risk it. You know what they say? The old woman forced a pig and it died.
Yeah. Help yourself, Jackie, dear.
Well, thanks ever so much, Jack. And you too, Anne. Oh, I have enjoyed myself.
Oh, not at all. You must pop round sometime again. When the committee elections are over, of course. Naturally, I don't expect to serve the committee.
You know, I always think it's a great pity that we can't have men on the ladies' committee. Ooh, you're Arthur. Well, I mean, as chairman, honestly, you can keep all your Eamon Andrewses.
Of course, if ever I had the honour of being elected to the committee, which I don't imagine for one moment I should...
Well, you better start then, Anne.
Pardon?
Imagining that you will, if I have my way, which I will, you'll be elected chairman.
Oh, no. Oh, I can't believe it. Nothing was further from...
I'll have a word with the girls. I usually see to it that they're guided by me.
Oh, Mrs. Harvey, Nellie, if I am put on the committee, I'll...
Well, I'll see you at the next exec meeting then. Bye-bye, Jackie. Stay as sweet as you are.
Cheerio, love, and just be good now.
Goodbye, Mrs. Harvey, and thank you.
Well, chairman at Lady Victualler's, eh?
So it seems.
So you see, you'd no need to worry after all, had you?
Seems I was wrong, doesn't it, about you and Mr. and Mrs. Wilson?
Eh?
No, Jack, if it hadn't been for you, I'd been nobody today, let alone the chairman-elect herself.
Oh, get away,
No, I mean it, Jack. My eyes have been opened today. You're wasted on me, Jack Walker.
Yeah.
I'm unworthy of you. Oh, yes, love. In your time, you've had Clara Townley at your feet, and Nellie Harvey, and heaven only knows what other unknown admirers. And you picked on me.
Well, as Nellie Harvey would say, you can keep your Elizabeth Taylors.
Now Annie was going up in the world, standards had to be kept up. But getting her cleaner, Hilda Ogden, to do any work, let alone a little extra, proved something of a challenge. The next thing to do was to get some extra staff behind the bar, so her son Billy decided to help her by finding a local lass who was perfect for the job.
The miniatures might feel the better for a little tickle over, Mrs. Ogden.
In the quack's waiting room it was, while our Irma was having a check-up, like. Oh, everything normal, touch wood.
Yes, it is the smallest things that somehow tend to get overlooked.
So then I picked up this decorating book, and that were it. Mind you, it were on that day trip out we had when I felt the first stirrings of me discontent, as you might say.
And the brushes in the snug.
Tatinol. What would you call it, the way they've got it done?
Ever so slightly green, Mrs. Ogden. The brasses.
Oh, yeah. No, only with you knowing about these things, like.
Oh, Tatton Hall. Well, late Regency, I should think. Though, of course, I wouldn't like to be quoted. Now, Mrs. Ogden, if you could make a start.
The one in the doctor's book with all windows and white plastic.
Avant-garde.
Oh, well, it could have had. It didn't show you the bathroom.
Doesn't time fly, dear? Do you know that we've been standing here chatting for over 10 minutes?
You see, the trouble is, I can't decide between Tattenhall Music Room and Doris Day Penthouse style of thing.
For where?
For this little palace. Present mode of decorating's more what you might call prehistoric horrible.
Of course, I would like a romantic little summer house at the bottom of the garden.
Mrs. Walker, you haven't got a garden.
No, and you haven't got a penthouse or a music room.
No. Makes you sick, doesn't it?
Why, heck, hey, what? You've been making some improvements in here.
Well, I think you're doing all right.
Billy, could I have a word with you, please?
Told you.
Right, love, you just stay where you are.
It will be all right.
Of course it will. I've told you I've taken you on.
Would you mind telling Miss Lynch to get dressed and go home, and then perhaps you'll be kind enough to tell me what she's doing behind the bar?
Mother, she is dressed and she's our new barmaid.
Oh, no, she isn't, dear.
Oh, look, Mum, Bet Lynch was willing and available.
I don't doubt
Oh,
it.
now, come on, Mum. I had to do it on the spot. You weren't here, and I thought she fitted the bill, so I took her on.
Well, I'm sorry, but you had no right to.
I think I had every right to, and I thought I was doing you a favour.
If lowering the standard of this pub to something more suitable to the Dock Road is doing a favour...
Oh, Mum, if she was dressed like that in a pub in London, they wouldn't bat an eyelid. Well, at least give her a chance. I can't go back on my word now, can I?
I think I'd best hand in my resignation before I start.
Oh, don't talk like that.
Well, I'm telling you, honey, if you quit, it's going to be over my dead body.
And mine.
Miss Lynch, could I have a word with you, please? Billy has explained to me that you're helping us out for the time being. Now, of course, I cannot be responsible for any arrangement that you and he have made. But if you and the job find each other suitable, I may decide that we need someone permanently. At the moment, of course, I can't say. Oh, and do dress up a little warmer in future.
In 1970, Jack Walker died. Annie was devastated, and her friends in the street felt the loss too. Jack had been, as his son Billy put it, one hell of a bloke, and it was only natural that the whole community felt that they had lost a friend. Annie wanted the Rovers, which she and Jack had run for more than 30 years, to remain a place where the residents of Coronation Street could meet and call their own. So, she being the determined lady that she was, Annie applied for and was accepted as the licensee of the Rovers' return.
Hey, Mum, how'd you get on?
Well, the news I have to give you is mingled with pride and sadness. I am now the landlady of the Rovers' return.
What did I tell you? Well then, Mrs. Walker, are we going to wet the baby's bottom?
Oh, far be it from me to agree with Mrs. Ogden, but Mr. Walker, you know, would have endorsed what she just said.
Would he? Yes, love, perhaps he would. All right, Betty, give them all.
Poor kid. You know, I think she's bitten off more than she can chew.
Have I, Billy? Have I? That's what I wonder.
Sit down, Mum. Come on. Come and sit down and let's get you sorted out.
I'm so tired, love. I'm so tired I could scream.
Well, about this housekeeping business, why don't you get somebody in to help you? Now that Mrs. Ogden's working in the shop.
Look, that's the whole point, love. Now, she'll only be there for a short time. If I get anyone else in and then she comes back, the rumpus. I've had it once before, Billy, I know. Simply not worth it to me.
All right, well, why don't you just let things slide for a bit? Oh, I don't mean the pub. I mean, come on, a bit of wire in the city.
Your father, if he
would
ever
have
did
cleared
a
up
job.
behind him, yeah, I know.
Not that I'm ungrateful, Billy. I mean, I know that lamp did need a longer flex.
I don't live up to him, do I? No, I know you want me to, but I just don't.
Look, love, you've been very good to me. You and Lucille. You're all I've got here. You and the pub. You know, this was my first day. My first day with my name up there. It had to go well for me, love. It had to.
And it did, though, didn't it? I mean, it's a fine house you keep here, Mrs. Walker.
I didn't tell you, love. 2 Irishmen came in and started quarrelling. My heart was in my boots.
Oh, you thought they'd start throwing bombs, did you?
An omen, it would have been a bad omen. You know what happened? One of them had lost his shoe, apparently. The other started to help him find it, and they went out the best of friends.
Yeah. It's a whole world, isn't it? It's a whole side world in here for you, this pub. You know, however much the work is good for you, it stops you thinking about things.
I miss him, Billy.
You know, what I said just now about not living up to him, I didn't mean that exactly. I suppose what I mean is that I just can't take his place. I mean, there's me and I'm this big, and there's the space that he's left and it's like that, and there's bound to be a gap. And sometimes, Mum, I think that you want me to fill it, and I can't. I just can't. You know, there's no two ways about it. He was one hell of a bloke.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you say that, love. I'm glad to know you think like that.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, you know... Oh, of course I do.
Well, Billy, we saw so little of you. I was afraid that because we stayed here, because we hadn't moved out to Cheshire like we said we would, well, you looked down on us and that you were ashamed to bring your friends, and that was why you didn't come home.
No, the boot's on the other foot. Half the time, my life in London, the sort of friends I had, the sort of life that... I've been ashamed in front of him. I couldn't hide anything from him. He could see right through me. Perhaps I would have come back if I'd had something decent to report. Anyway, all that's changed now.
The garage. Oh, Billy, love, he'd be so proud of you.
Would he? I wonder.
Now that she was landlady, she had more contact with Nellie Harvey. Their rivalry knew no bounds. When Annie's birthday came around, Nellie Harvey was desperate to know what age she was and tried every trick in the book to find out. But Annie was more than a match for her.
Oh, these are right for you, love.
Don't say a word about that ring, dear. I was told not to, you know.
OK. Yeah, love. I have said it, haven't I?
What?
Happy birthday.
3 times. I'm beginning to think you're pulling my leg.
Oh, as if I would.
In the autumn of your years, may life present you with few tears, and for every hair that's grey, may you have great joy this day. Insist that you stay for a cup of tea. The kettle's just boiled.
Well, I wasn't too sure how welcome I'd be after our little difference over the motel opening.
Well, you were a little hasty in your judgment, weren't you, dear? But I'm not one to bear a grudge.
It is, isn't it?
What, dear?
It is your birthday.
Oh, yes, it is.
I thought I hadn't got the date wrong.
No, you haven't.
I don't see any cards, though.
I put them up in my bedroom, dear. They gather less dust there.
Oh, it doesn't improve, does it?
What?
This district.
Oh, well, it's the people that matter.
Let's see, Anne. How old will you be now?
Not getting any younger.
No. Well, I've been working it out, and I guess...
Did you, dear?
Anne Beaumont that was. Who'd have thought the day would ever...
Do sit down, dear. I know you don't like standing much.
Oh, that's not me, dear. That's Herbert. Oh, no. I'm as sprightly as a chicken. But then you are nowadays in your 50s, aren't you? Especially if you've taken care of yourself. But here I am chattering on and nearly forgetting what I came for.
What was that, Nellie?
To give you these, of course.
Oh.
Now, first, the card. They're in the bedroom, you say, your other cards.
Yes.
Different. Do you like it?
Very much. In the autumn of your days...
I thought the verse was so appropriate.
Yes, indeed.
And now, your present.
Chocolates?
Shortbread.
Shortbread.
Actually, I got it in Scotland when Herbert and me were there at Whit. You know how you fancy things when you're on holiday, and then when you get them home, you've gone right off them. You do like shortbread, don't you?
Love it.
Now, you're not just saying that to be polite.
It is one of my favourite foods. Excuse me.
Yoo-hoo! Anne!
Nellie, why, I'm having a surfeit of your company today.
Well, I said to her, but I cannot let Anne spend her birthday evening without a friendly face to look at, I said. I'll go and cheer her up, I said.
I thought perhaps you'd come to sample the shortbread.
Oh, I thought I told you I can't stand shortbread. It's much too sweet for my taste. I'm more of a savoury person.
Indeed.
Though, funnily enough, I do have just one exception. I like me sherry sweet.
What a very resourceful way of asking for a drink, Nellie.
Oh, do you think so? You're not very busy tonight.
Not very.
Of course, that's the trouble with houses in working-class districts. There's only money about at the weekend.
Yes, but they do spend a fair proportion of it in liquid refreshment.
Oh, aren't you joining me, Anne?
Not in the mood, dear.
Well, a happy birthday, then, and as many more as you're lucky enough to have.
Thank you, dear.
Tell me something, Anne, if it's not too personal.
As if you could ever be personal, Nellie.
Are you beginning to feel different? You know, a bit feeble? No, I only ask because, well, you don't seem to have changed all that much. I mean, you're on this place on your own.
Nellie, dear.
Yes, Anne?
I'll let you into a little secret. If I don't alter very much, it's because of this special treatment.
Special treatment?
Not quite monkey glands, but something very similar. Costs the earth.
Don't think I'm being nosy, Anne, but how do you afford this special treatment? I mean, I know you can't be exactly rolling in it, a small working-class house like this.
I'm sorry you asked me that, Nellie, because you know how difficult it is for me to be untruthful.
Go on.
Well, it's financed by an admirer, a gentleman.
Oh, is he? Do I know him?
Well, unfortunately, dear, owing to his most difficult domestic situation, all I can tell you is he's something in the city. Excuse me.
Oh, now, be fair, Anne. I mean, it's no good mentioning something like that and then going all secretive about it.
I don't quite follow you, Nellie.
All right, I can understand you wanting to keep who your gentleman friend is secret. I mean, widows have to be careful. You can so easily get yourself a reputation, can't you? But what's this stuff you're taking?
But, Nellie, you don't want to restore your vitality, not at your age.
No. Well, it wasn't for me. It was for Herbert.
Oh, my dear. I couldn't expose Herbert to it. I mean, you remember what his tendencies used to be. We don't want him to be the talk of the town again.
As we follow the rise of Annie up the social ladder, the next big event in her life was when Alf Roberts asked her to be his Lady Mayoress. Annie was thrilled. What would Nellie Harvey say about that?
If I could just have your attention for a few moments, ladies and gentlemen.
I think you've got it already, Alf.
Well, in that case, I would like to introduce the new Mayoress of Weatherfield, Mrs. Annie Walker.
Does that make me an honourable?
I tell you what it does make you, dear. Busy. Drinks on the house.
But I did say I was pleased with my decision. Believe me, it's the right one.
You sly devil. Getting me going like that.
Now, Lucille, I want you to give me your honest opinion. Do you think that this is just a shade...
Too young for you?
No, not that at all. No, the word I'm looking for, I think, is informal. Is it a shade too informal for the dignity of the occasion?
Doesn't show much of your face, though, does it?
That is a very, very good point, Elizabeth, and thank you for mentioning it. I'm told that the Queen has a constant problem in finding, you know, becoming hats that are off the face.
Well, why don't you give her a ring? Perhaps she'll lend you some.
It's a bit late for that.
Oh, is it, Prince Philip could bring you to it by helicopter. Or better still, the Viking of the Queen's flight and then a fast police car from Manchester Airport.
Really, if you can't be more constructive... Billy? You haven't started getting ready yet. You've not even shaved.
Time is hour and a half before we leave.
Well, you don't want to rush in the last few minutes.
Right, well, if the worst comes to the worst, they can at least start without me. And I'm not the one that's being crowned Lady Mayor, am I?
Billy?
I'm sorry, Mum. I'll be there, I promise.
Nothing wrong, is there?
No, I feel a bit... No, I'm all right. I'll go.
Now, of course, this is perfect. With my two-piece, that would be absolutely lovely. Mrs. Ogden, we haven't forgotten to dust the sideboard, have we? We don't want to let our standards slip, even today of all days. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I don't propose to make a long speech, but I do want to say how deeply grateful I am for the honour.
In thanking you, members of the council, for asking me to be the very last mayor of Weatherfield, I am, of course, deeply conscious that you are honouring not only myself, but those other councillors who have served as independent members for so many years. And in that connection, I'd like to mention especially Councillor Leonard Fairclough, who is unfortunately unable to be with us today. I'm sure we all wish him a speedy recovery.
Hear, hear, hear.
I'm sad, as we all are, to think that local government reorganisation will shortly bring the long history of our borough to an end, and with it, the proud title of Mayor of Weatherfield. I can only promise that in the forthcoming year, I shall endeavour to add to the lustre which has been brought by my distinguished predecessors. Thank you.
Aldermen, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief adjournment. Please rise while His Worship the Mayor retires.
Just look at her face. She can't wait to get that chain round her neck.
Will you be quiet?
Yes, shut up.
Aldermen, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please rise to receive His Worship the Mayor of Weatherfield, Councillor Alfred Roberts.
Members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I take great pleasure in presenting my mayoress, Mrs. Anne Walker.
Nellie, an equal for Annie in the one-upmanship stakes, wasn't to be outdone by a little thing like Annie becoming the Lady Mayoress. The next time she called to see her, she had a tiny surprise of her own for Annie. This was to set Annie off on a quest to equal, if not better, Nellie's achievement.
Anne, lovely. Anne, you've changed something.
I don't think so, dear.
Oh, yes, you have. I can't put my finger on it, but you've got it really very nice in here.
No, it's exactly the same as the last time we came.
Go on. Well, it's just that when I walked in, something hit me. It always strikes me the way you've got it really very nice in here. Such a contrast to that street. You know, you really do rise above your environment, Anne.
Time when I lose, I'm just like paying for it on the trip.
It's a pity you couldn't get the brewery to do something about the outside, though.
My dear, they begged me, but I said no. They even sent a young fellow round, a designer, somebody who does these things.
Oh, that'd be the same chappie that did ours.
20th century nonsense, I said. This is a northern public house, and that is the way it's going to stay.
But progress, Anne. You know, they've totally changed our facade.
Yes, I know, dear. But it'll be all right when it mellows. Will you come through? I have to get my coat.
No, dear, I'll stay here. You see, the transport's waiting.
Oh, hello, darling. Will you join us? Hey, I like your hat.
Oh, Anne, you do get some characters in here.
Have a nice time, Mrs. Walker.
You know, when I go, they'll probably take this facade brick by brick to a museum. Perfect turn of the century, northern public house architecture.
And here we have a perfect little piece of 20th century nonsense, Anne. I told you the transport was waiting.
Who's going to drive? Where's Arthur?
Oh, Arthur bought it for me. I passed the test.
You've passed your driving test?
Yes. Wasn't it sneaky of me? Hop in.
Well, I thought Marjorie was in very good form.
You know, I don't understand Marjorie.
Really?
Well, she tries to be such a cow, but I'm sure it's not in her nature. She could be quite a likeable girl, really, if only she'd let herself be.
Now, Nellie, she did put herself out.
If she put herself out half as much as she pulls herself in, she'd be a raging success. Mind you, I shouldn't speak ill of a fellow member.
No.
Did you know she's in the AA?
Marjorie in the AA? I never heard of a licensee in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, Anne, you are a scream. The Automobile Association. I'm in the AA too.
But couldn't you have joined another club?
Oh, I've joined them all, only I haven't had my badge from them yet.
Yes, of course, it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, she is aiming to be president. She's making it perfectly obvious.
Oh, well, let her. That was her car. You saw it, the yellow one.
And, you know, I think she would have her points as president. Tea.
You know, I do think yellow's a showy colour for a car. But, you know, to tell you the truth, I didn't want a big one. You see, I mainly run around town, and it's very nippy, the one I've got.
Marjorie has my vote.
Now then, ladies, will I make a butler?
Fred, how sweet of you.
Afternoon tea, my lady.
Thank you.
And how long have you had Mr.
G.
Mr. G?
How long have you been here, Fred?
It's about 4 months now.
Oh, and are you living in then, Mr. G?
Well, I inhabit the servants' quarters.
Oh, Fred, go on with you.
Well, if there's anything else you'd require, my lady.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Anne. And any time you need a lift, well, you know where you've got a chauffeur.
How very kind of you, Nellie. Saved me a fortune in taxis, because I find I'm taking taxis everywhere these days.
You know, there are some nice little runs into Derbyshire. You must come with us. Mind you, we haven't been far yet, with Arthur being bad. I mean, on Sunday we just ran over to Bramhall and looked in all the estate agents.
What a novel way to spend Sunday.
Oh, well, it's different when you're mobile.
Well, I'm afraid that's game, set and match to Nellie.
Are you a motorist yourself, Mr. Fairclough? Do you know what she'll do? She'll get a flask and a rug and she'll kip in that car tonight.
Do you know, I don't ever see Mrs. Walker getting even.
Well, she could get a little car herself.
She's never going to learn to drive.
Well, in that case, this is one she's lost.
She's a dedicated player, is Annie, you know. You won't write that off. Listen.
Oh.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm leaving you to hold the fort, dear, with Fred's help. I know I can rely on your usual efficiency.
Yes, you leave everything to us. Anywhere in particular you might be going?
Just a little shopping and then a light lunch at the salad roll. Kitty Stoneley. She gets such a thrill out of these occasions, I don't like to disappoint her. Bye-bye then, love.
Bye-bye.
See you about 3.
Okay, my dear.
Is she out for this session?
She's on the warpath, she is. I can see all the signs, you know.
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, she's going out to lunch with Kitty Stoneley, one of her bosom pals from the Lady Vicks, you know. I'll bet I can guess what's on the menu. For starters, Nellie Harvey's driving test. For the main course, Nellie Harvey's car. And for puddings?
Did I have pudding as well?
For puddings, they'll be having how to get Nellie Harvey back down to the level of a lady pedestrian.
It's me.
So I see, and here.
I was just on my way home when I saw you stood there. I've been taking me L plates back to the Oxfam shop. Well, they're no use to me now that I've passed the test. They might as well benefit somebody less fortunate. Well, you have to do what you can, don't you? Any road. I was just driving past when I saw you stood there, suffering. Hop in, dear. I'll drop you at the Rovers.
Oh, no, there's no necessity to trouble you, thank you.
Oh, it's no trouble to me, dear. Not now that I've got the car. Oh, come on. You don't want to struggle on buses with parcels. Not at your age.
Regretfully, I must say no. It isn't that I'm reluctant to be your passenger. Nobody who knows me would question my courage. It's just that I do have one or two more errands I'd like to do.
Oh, all right, love. Only don't say you weren't offered.
Indeed, no. I would no more have dreamed of getting into that car than walking across Niagara Falls on a tightrope.
Hey, that's the third call she's had since she came back with a face like thunder.
Well, what's she up to?
Well, she's tracking up her old pals to see if she can get the lowdown on Nellie Harvey.
I'm merely saying that if Nellie Harvey is licensed to drive, I almost said licensed to kill, then licenses must be very easy to come by. She claims, of course, that she passed at the first attempt. She did? At her very first attempt? Well, then the age of miracles is not past. How many? No. It is rather a lot, isn't it? Listen, dear, do you mind if I run off now? I've got 1,001 things to do as usual. I'll ring you soon. Bye-bye. Elizabeth!
Yes, Mrs. Walker?
I have just quite by chance heard the truth about Nellie Harvey's much vaunted driving skills. What do you think?
Well, I haven't a clue.
It's true that she passed at the first attempt after taking 86 lessons.
How many?
86.
Oh.
It is rather a lot, isn't it? But the source is impeccable.
Oh.
Elizabeth, will you get us the best napkins?
I will.
Nellie? Anne here. In the excitement of this morning, dear, I never thought of asking you to come round for a cup of tea. Could you come? Good. Right. I shall look forward to that, dear. So very much.
I am expected.
Oh, yes. Well, I'll just tell her you're here.
Hello there, missus. I see you like this place. Mind you, I don't blame you, you know, I'm fond of the pub myself. What do you reckon to the weather, then? Cold enough for a walking stick, innit?
Nellie, so glad you got here in one piece. Did you drive over yourself?
Well, that's the beauty of having your own transport. The world is your oyster.
Do come through, love, and have a cup of tea. I'm sure you can do with it after all your exertions. Do have another piece of Battenberg, Nellie. I know you've never succumbed to this modern fad of Weight watching.
Oh, well, a little of what you fancy.
Had lunch with Kitty Stoneley today.
Oh, now she should watch what she eats. With that hair of hers, what does she look like? Which hairdresser does she go
I haven't
to?
the faintest idea. But she was tremendously interested about your driving success. She thought it was so very, very brave of you to tackle modern traffic conditions at your time of life.
Oh, did she?
She asked me to send to her warmest congratulations, and, in fact, as good as said that she was thinking of following in your footsteps, or should I say tire tracks, learning to drive herself.
Well, I can't see Kitty Stoneley doing much good with driving. I mean, she never was any good with machines. Look at that automatic washer. Flooded the kitchen out twice.
I suppose she'd need a lot of lessons.
Oh, bound to.
How many would you think?
Well, it all depends. I mean, some people need a lot. It's all to do with your aptitude.
Yes, and having a good driving instructor. Who did you go to, Nellie? I'm sure Kitty would be interested.
How's your Billy getting on? Does he ever bother coming up to have a look at you?
You had 86 lessons before you passed, didn't you, dear?
I don't know where you got that from.
I think it must have been the same source that said it requires one lesson for each year of the driver's age.
Obviously, you've been listening to idle and ill-informed gossip. Well, I've got better things to do with my time. Them as don't know nothing about driving shouldn't go criticising them as do.
Do you think you're wise, dear, to get behind a wheel in this frame of mind?
You don't own the roads round here, Annie Walker, so don't crack on that you do.
I promise to leave the roads to you, if you, in return, will steer clear of the pavements.
Well, at least I can drive a car, Annie Walker, which is more than you can.
I think if I set my mind to it, learning to drive would not present me with many difficulties.
You? You couldn't drive a pram up a short ginnel.
I could handle a car far more capably than you can, and, what is more, learn to do so in far fewer lessons.
Oh, yes. Well, why don't you prove it, then?
Oh, I will, Nellie. Obviously, I want to go to a really good driving school, not just a little man round the corner.
Yeah, well, of course, I've no personal experience of driving schools.
You want the best.
Yeah, well...
Personally, myself, Mrs. Walker, I think you're wasting your money.
Really, Mrs. Ogden?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's all a matter of reflexes, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, absolutely. There's this machine on Blackpool Pier, you know, test your reflexes. You put your money in.
Oh, and a little dwarf pops out and bashes you on the kneecap with hammer.
And you turn the wheel, and then you're on this road, you see. But every time you swerve off it or hit an obstacle, a bell rings.
Oh, yeah, and there's another one as well with a bit of bent wire like that. You put a loop round, and when you touch it, it buzzes.
That's right, same thing. But you need to be in full charge of your facilities to do it.
I assure you, Mrs. Ogden, I am in complete control of my faculties. If I were not, I wouldn't dream of putting other people, not to speak of myself, to risk.
Yeah, all the same, my love. Don't you think it might be a bit, well, late in the day to start anything as radical as driving? Yes.
Afternoon, Mrs. Walker. I hear you're in the market for a first-class driving teacher.
I am making inquiries, yes.
Then look no further.
You?
Hey, specialist in the art of the fast getaway and keeping out the road of the fuzz.
I want to make it perfectly clear, and not just to Mr. Yates, that this matter of my proposed driving licence is something I intend to take quite seriously. Quite seriously. And I shall be glad if my staff, my friends, and my patrons will do the same.
Message received and understood.
Oh, Bet?
Ready? All ready, and in only 2.5 hours?
Now, don't exaggerate, Bet. I've always believed that good grooming gives a woman confidence.
And you'll need it.
One's first driving lesson is not to be taken lightly. I'm not apprehensive, just perfectly calm.
Good luck, Mrs. Walker.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck, Mrs. Walker.
Keep death off the road.
Right. Remembering the basics, start when you're ready.
Certainly sounds simple enough.
Something tells me we'll be safer off the street.
Oh, why, you're not wrong.
Well, working on the principle, if she hits something, it won't be her own place. Let's get inside.
Think you've got to again. After you, Claude. Me, after you, Cecil.
It's all right, Fred. I'll deal with this gentleman.
Morning, Mrs. Walker.
And a very good morning to you. Can I get you something?
No, thank you, Mrs. Walker. But I've got something for you. A bit of news.
Oh, yes?
Your driving test. It's come through a lot quicker than I thought it would. They've fitted you for tomorrow.
Good gracious, tomorrow. How marvellous.
Yes.
Well, don't you agree?
Well, I wasn't expecting it to come through just yet, Mrs. Walker. But if you like, I could always postpone it and get you another one in a few weeks.
But my dear Mr. Grady, why on earth should you do that?
Well, I don't think a couple of extra lessons would go amiss, Mrs. Walker. I mean, I think your hill start could perhaps stand a bit more work. We did roll back rather a long way when you tried it on Friday, if you remember.
As I explained to you at the time, I was wearing the wrong shoes.
There was that, I suppose.
Mr. Grady, can I tell you something about me?
Of course.
Now, I don't want to boast, but I've always had this ability of being completely frank with myself about myself. Now, if I tell you that I shall never be more fit to take a driving test than I am now, are you prepared to accept my word that that is the case?
If you say so, Mrs. Walker.
Good. Well, wait just a minute for me. I'll get into the right shoes and we'll polish off that hill start.
Yes, Mrs. Walker.
Hey, I heard that, pal. Don't you reckon she's in with the Chancellor?
Now, any more for any more of this never-to-be-repeated offer? I am offering 10 to 1, Mrs. Walker passes her driving test, providing, of course, she doesn't knock down a warden or two on the way. How about you, Albert? Are you interested in a little flutter, then?
No, I'm not. But I reckon her stood behind you might be.
Hold on, Mrs. Walker.
You are aware that it's a criminal offence to make a book in a public house, aren't you? I'm sure you must be, with your intimate personal experience of the law.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a giggle, you know.
At my expense?
Oh, no, we're backing you to pass, you know.
Are you indeed?
Oh, yeah, should make a mint.
Really? Would you give me a pound from the till? Yes, Mrs. You are quoting odds of 10 to 1, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are only betting 10p's, like, you know.
Yes, what's the matter, Eddie? Having second thoughts?
What are you doing there, then?
It's me winnings. What I get off the people that bet on Annie Walker, you know. There's £2 off Fred G, there's 50p off Terry Bradshaw, and there's £1 off Annie Walker herself.
Well, suppose she passes, though. I mean, you gave him 10 to 1, didn't you? You'll be paying out a fortune.
No chance. I'm a student of form, Ken. Anyway, I've seen the way she drives. Oh, aye, there's 10p off you, Mrs. Turpin. All mounts up, you know. Oh, hello there, Mrs. Walker. How did you get on, then?
This rather interesting little document is a certificate of competence to drive. In other words, some of you will be delighted to hear, I have passed.
Good for you, Mrs. Walker.
Well done, Mrs. Walker.
I don't believe it.
Why, didn't you think I was capable?
No, well, yes, certainly. I've won 20 quid.
I've won a fiver.
You haven't really passed, have you, Mrs. Walker? I mean, it's a pike, innit? You're having us on, really.
Most certainly I had passed, and I rather think I've won £10.
Oh, hey, and I had 10 pence on, so I've got a pound coming to me.
Can I have a look at the certificate, Mrs. Walker, please?
Certainly not. It's a private document.
Oh, fair dues, Mrs. Walker. I mean, I've got to see that that you have passed.
Well, ask Mr. Grady.
Is that right, then?
It's right.
Come on through, Mr. Grady. I'm sure that a sherry wouldn't come amiss. As soon as possible will be quite convenient for my winnings.
Hey, I'll have mine now, Eddie.
Yeah, come on. Cough up.
Very clever.
Look, I was going to back it, but I never got round to it.
Look, I can't pay you just at the moment, lads. I mean, I haven't quite got it, you see.
Well, you better get it then, aren't you, Eddie?
And look sharp about it, Eddie.
Yes, you had.
Eddie, can I make a suggestion?
I wish you would.
Well, now she's passed the test, she's going to need a car, isn't she? And I'm sure that you have one or two contacts, and the commission would...
Pay me debts. It's a great idea, Squire. Why don't I buy you a drink?
Why don't you?
2 large brandies, please.
Annie felt she needed a little more practice, but unfortunately a dog and Stan Ogden's handcart were to put her off driving for good. Well, after that, Annie left the driving to Fred and went back to concentrating upon running the Rovers. To celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee in 1977, the street organised a float depicting Britain through the ages. So when they asked if she would appear on it as Queen Elizabeth I, Annie threw herself into the role.
Now, this is the famous one. I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. And think foul scorn that Parma, Spain, or any prince of Europe should dare invade the borders of my realm. Oh, what a woman, eh? What a woman.
Mrs. Walker.
Just it.
Well, you'll just be sitting on a brewery lorry dressed as Elizabeth. You won't have to do any acting or talking or anything like that.
Oh, that's not the point, dear, is it? If I'm to look like her, then I must feel like her, here, inside. I remember reading somewhere that Glenda steeped herself in the literature of the age before tackling the TV part.
Did you?
Hope she's in the country, then she can reply to my letter.
And stick your chin out.
You know, this is going a bit too far.
Hey, you look right cracking in that, Mrs. Walker.
It is customary to kneel.
Some people get right into the part, don't they?
Well, she's been rehearsing all her life.
You can't rehearse majesty, Mr. Tetlock. It's either something you've got or you haven't.
Watch what you're saying, Albert. You'll get your head chopped off.
Yes, and all my work will be wasted.
Having always felt just a touch regal herself, Annie never could resist the opportunity to get her hands on anything that would put her one step ahead of her friends. The chance to buy a carpet monogrammed with your own initials doesn't come along every day, so even though the seller was Eddie Yates, Annie hadn't the slightest doubt that the carpet was for her. No sooner was it laid than she felt that she must have a few of her friends round to show it off.
Oh, I am so pleased, Estelle. See, about 11:45 then. Oh, just a few of the girls, you know. They'll have to wait and see and marvel. See you tomorrow then, dear. Mrs. Ogden, how fortuitous. And Fred and Bet. Now, I want you all here early in the morning and ready for work. A few of my Lady Victular friends are coming in for a glass of sherry, and I want everything just so.
You'll have to watch they don't stub their fag ends out on your new carpet.
I will, won't I? Yes. I'm afraid that some of them are not as used to gracious living as the more fortunate of us.
Don't know one sherry from another, eh, Mrs. Walker?
I'm afraid not, no.
Probably spend half the time in bingo halls.
Do you know that? I shouldn't be at all surprised. I shouldn't be at all surprised. Oh, Mrs. Ogden, you should have been finished in here long since.
Oh, I'm only doing a proper job, Mrs. Walker. I'll have them tabletops that clean you could eat your dinner off.
Well, thank you, but I shall persevere with plates. Now, in less than 2 hours, my guests will be here. I want the living room spotless. So finish in here as quickly as you can, and then come through and brush the carpet.
Hey, does she still not know?
About her wonderful carpet? No, she doesn't.
Ah, it's cruel, isn't it? There she is, thinking her lovely monographed carpet were made specially for her. And all the time it's a leftover from a bingo hall. Somebody ought to tell her the truth, you know. Poor woman.
Well, I'm not telling her. You tell her. You're the one that saw the flipping carpet at the Lambert in the first place, Hilda.
Oh, not me, no. Like Bet says, she won't thank them what tells her. I don't want to lose my job.
Well, she'll find out soon enough, won't she? When her posh friends from the Lady Vicks get here, she starts bragging about that magic carpet. They're bound to spot it, aren't they?
Ah, only if they play bingo.
What do you mean, only? They're not all as refined as Madam Walker, you know.
It'll break her heart when she does find out. She'll be mortified.
Huh. That's right, Hilda. What do they say now? When ignorance is bliss, it's folly to be wise.
Oh, very true is that, Fred. When ignorance is bliss, it's folly to be wise.
I say, Bet, don't you think we ought to tell her, you know, before her mates arrive?
That's what friends are for, Fred. For finding out things you don't want to know.
I know, all the same, Bet, but I think you ought to tip her off, you know.
Well, why should I have to do it?
Well, you've been here longest, haven't you? I mean, you're used to things like, you know, well, things like this, you know.
Like taking thorns out a lion's feet and hoping they don't bite your head off. Huh.
What on earth has got into Mrs. Ogden? She's just come through the living room, grinning like an idiot and muttering, ignorance is bliss.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't say anything, of course. I couldn't help thinking if that were the case, she'd be the happiest woman in the world. Fred, would you wash the best sherry glasses for me, please? I think you've got a safer pair of hands than certain other people.
Right, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you.
Mrs. Walker?
Now, what is it, Bet? I'm very, very busy.
Well, I was just wondering, like, how you work the magic with Betty. I mean, you must have made her a very tempting offer, money-wise, to get her back here.
Full marks for trying, Bet. Again.
Right, that's that. She can make a laughing stock of herself now, for all I care.
Well, I think we look fairly presentable.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Now, my guests won't be here for a moment or two. Just time for a welcome home sherry.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome back, dear.
Ta. Oh, nice drop of sherry.
As long as it's not a nice drop falling on my carpet.
Eh? Oh, yes, yeah, very good.
How I shouldn't think a drop of sherry would do it any harm, Mrs. Walker. I mean, if it can stand stiletto heels and fag ends and the odd milk stout in a bingo hall, I should think it'll be able to stand a drop of sherry.
I beg your pardon, would you mind repeating that?
I'm just saying, it wears very well at the Alhambra Weatherfield, this carpet.
I don't know what you're talking about. This carpet, the Alhambra Weatherfield. The Alhambra Weatherfield?
Yes, Mrs. Walker. A.W. Didn't you know? I thought you must.
I think you better tell me everything you know.
Well, you see, this is the carpet that they have at the Alhambra. Only there they have the big bit with the A.W. all over it. Now, this bit that you've got here is like the little bit. It's like an offcut.
An offcut?
Like an end. You know, a few yards that they had over. Well, I thought you knew, Mrs. Walker.
Elizabeth, is this true?
I've finished. Do you know, you can practically see your face in the tiles in them lavvies.
Look, don't take my word for it, Mrs. Walker. Hilda, I was just saying, didn't you see this carpet at the Alhambra?
Huh? Oh, yeah, I was there the night before last. And you know, I only needed one number for a top line, and this woman in the same row as me got it. Indian she were. But they understand these numbers, though,
Did you see my carpet?
Oh, yes, I did, Mrs. Walker. Exactly the same it is. Right through except for the toilets. Well, I were dropped on. I thought to myself, fancy Mrs. Walker having bingo all carpet.
Oh, my goodness. I'll have to stop them. I must.
But you can't, they'll be on the way, not they're due any minute.
You're right. It's too late.
Well, if you want, Mrs. Walker, I could stand at the door and wait for them, you know, tell them to go home, like.
Oh, don't talk silly, Mrs. Ogden. Why didn't you come and see me when you first saw the carpet?
Well, I were going to.
Well, you see, we thought you knew, Mrs. Walker.
Give me credit for a little taste. Would I buy carpet that was all over the floor of a bingo hall? Oh, wait till I see Eddie Yates. Wait till I see that man.
I did warn you about him, Mrs. Walker.
Well, it's still a very beautiful carpet, Mrs. Walker. I mean, you were thrilled with it up to 5 minutes.
That is not the point, Elizabeth. I shall be a laughing stock.
But they might never even notice it.
Oh, Betty, they can't fail to notice it. I mean, not with the initials of the Alhambra Weatherfield plastered all over it.
Can you make out what they're saying?
No, it's just a babble. I'm hoping to hear a sudden cry of bingo.
Do you know, I can't say I recognise any of them pals of hers. From the bingo, I mean. Of course, you don't, do you? You're too busy watching your card.
Well, some of them must go to bingo, surely.
Oh, I'd love to be a fly on wall in there. I'd love to see Annie Walker's face. I know it's wrong to laugh, isn't it?
I thought I'd have seen Nellie Harvey here today, Anne. Not fallen out, have you?
Fallen out, Nellie and Harvey? No, much too close friends for that. No, she's indisposed. Margaret Jameson had to cry off, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mind you, and I say this as one of Nellie's best friends, if not the best. She's not getting any younger, you know. I mean, she's very good, considering. But should she be carrying all that weight?
Can't be good for her.
Not as if it suited her either. Well, it doesn't, does it?
Not with her coming.
I've seen her go purple just climbing a flight of steps. Well, I worry about her.
Well, so do I. Well, we wouldn't be her friends if we didn't, would
That's
we?
very true.
She took you on again, I see, Mrs. Turpin.
Pardon?
I heard you'd left here. Went working in a shop, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Well, I was just helping a friend out, you know, while the mum was poorly.
Oh.
Keeping the business going, you know.
I heard you'd had
Yeah.
some trouble. She's very good, Mrs. Walker, isn't she? Very loyal to her staff.
I don't remember this carpet, Anne. New, is it?
Well, fairly new, yes.
I think I'd have noticed if I'd seen it before. Can't help noticing it, really, can you? Have you seen Anne's new carpet, Olive?
Oh, I say.
I know. This is what you were talking about on the phone, isn't it? You said you'd got something special you wanted me to see.
Oh, dear, I don't recall. Perhaps it was the decorating.
Oh, I say, Anne. A.W. Your initials. How posh can you get?
Must have cost the earth.
Oh, no, not really. It's just a carpet for walking about on.
It's very striking. I'm sure I've seen something very like it before, though.
Can anybody have one like this? I mean, with their own initials?
It definitely rings a bell, this carpet. Now, where have I seen it?
I wonder, would you excuse me while I circulate? Olive, Why don't you tell her about your holiday in Ibiza?
Oh, she's heard all about that. It's there at the back of my mind. If I could just place it.
Excuse me for saying, but one of your guests has got a very wicked tongue.
Oh, I think she's recognised the carpet.
She's from the Mare and Foal, isn't she?
Yes, what's she doing now?
She's pointing at your carpet and giggling with the pal.
Oh dear, she has recognised it.
Mrs. Walker wants a word. She's not best pleased with you.
I've done nothing.
Better tell her then. She's in the living room.
Ah, I can't. I've just remembered I gotta go some... Oh, hello, Fred.
You heard the lady, didn't you, Eddie?
Oh, that's no lady, that's our bet.
Mrs. Walker, she wants a word with you.
Yeah, well, I've got to get off. This girl, she...
Don't try to put it off. What has to be will be. Come on, mate, let's have you.
All right, Fred, there's no need to get rough. Right.
What's all the aggro?
Mrs. Walker's suing him for breach of promise.
Oh, I better drink his pint then. You what?
In. All right, I could have turned nasty, you know, Fred. Oh, hello, Mrs. Walker. I was just passing, so I thought I'd pop in.
I'll just be through in the bar, Mrs. Walker. If you need any help, just give me a shout, eh?
I don't think that'll be necessary, Fred.
Is something bothering you, Mrs. Walker? Only, I sensed an atmosphere when I came in the pub, you know. Nothing I could put my finger on, but it was there all the same, you know.
This carpet.
Oh, yeah. Great, innit? Do you know, it feels great under your feet. That is best quality carpet, that, Mrs. Walker.
I bought this carpet on the clear understanding that it was exclusive, unique. I am now told that the initials, which I thought were mine, really represent the Alhambra Weatherfield, a bingo hall.
Ah.
Do you deny it?
Well, they have got some carpet like this at the Alhambra. There was a little bit left over after your order, you see.
Are you saying that the carpet at the bingo hall, which I believe covers the entire floor, is a remnant from my order?
Well, you know what it's like, Mrs. Walker. They get carried away a bit at the factory, you know.
Yes. The carpet on which we are standing is the remnant, Mr. Yates. Now, don't think you can bluff your way out of this. I've had enough of your lies and deceptions.
It's not lies, Mrs. Walker. I mean, it's salesmanship. I mean, it's a lovely carpet. You were delighted when I brought it.
I want it out. I want it out of here tomorrow. I want my money back in full.
Hey? Yeah, but it's impossible, Mrs. Walker.
Failing that, I am prepared to lay the matter before the police.
Oh.
On the grounds of obtaining money by false pretences. Now, do I have to do that, Mr. Yates?
No. Only where am I going to get shut of it? I mean, who wants carpet with AW written all the way
That,
through?
I am afraid, is your affair. You will have to find somebody with the same initials. Goodbye, Mr. Yates.
Perhaps I could try Harold Wilson. Do you get it? Harold...
Annie's relationship with Eddie deteriorated still further when he, very reluctantly, sold her a painting which turned out to be even more dodgy than the carpet.
And since when have you been an art dealer?
I'm not an art dealer. I just do the fetching and carrying, don't I?
Oh, thank you very much for the sherry, Mrs. Walker.
Nice to share it with someone who appreciates it, Kenneth.
Yes, I'm sorry I couldn't stay a bit longer, but he is on his own, you know.
Ken, you're up in modern art, aren't you? I mean, you know about modern art.
Well...
It's got something, can it?
Oh, yes, I think it has. It's definitely got something.
I shouldn't wonder if it's not catching.
Do you know, I think I can see what Kenneth means. It's sort of impressionistic, really, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
All I want to know is what it's supposed to be.
Obviously, Betty, it is not supposed to be anything.
Oh, well, it succeeds then.
It conveys a feeling.
Yeah, I'm coming, Chuck.
Who does it belong to, anyway?
Teddy's.
Really?
Well, it's not mine. I'm just taking it round for someone. But you do like it, don't you?
Well, shall I say, I think I can see what the artist is trying to put over. Although I couldn't put it into words, perhaps Kenneth could.
Well, if you could put everything into words, there'd be no need for paintings, would there, Mrs. Walker?
How true that is.
Right, well, I'll be, bye.
See you, Wa.
I still don't know what you're doing with it.
Ah, well, I'm doing a bit of casual work, you see, for this fella that clears houses, you know. Well, he's got a customer that buys all his paintings, big house in Didsbury. Gives £20 a piece. He took a load. He said, if you get any more, send them down.
20 quid?
Yeah, big or small, 20 quid. Anyway, this has just come off the truck, so I'm taking it to him, you know.
I'd not give you 20 quid for it.
Well, I wouldn't myself, would I?
I don't think £20 is out of the way for a painting.
Well, no, I suppose not if you're an art lover and you know what you're talking about, but... Don't fall in love with it, Mrs. Walker, only I've got to take it to this bloke, you know.
£20.
Oh, no, I can't, Mrs. Walker. I can't, honest. I can't.
You done?
Have I got a surprise for you?
Oh, come on, let's see it then.
Close your eyes. Open them.
Well, where is it? Where's my picture?
Gone.
Gone?
Gone.
What do you mean gone? What have you done with it?
Close your eyes again.
I will not close my eyes again.
Go on, close them or you won't get your second surprise.
I want to know where my picture is.
Well, close your eyes.
Ooh.
Open them. Your picture has just turned into 20 quid. Now who's a little magician?
What are you talking about?
I flogged it.
You flogged it?
For 20 knicker?
Well, seeing is believing, innit?
You've never.
Well, I don't believe it. You flogged my picture and got 20 quid for it.
Here, a tenner each, all right? Are you chuffed?
Who to?
Oh, wait, an art lover fell in love with it.
Oh, come on, there's something funny about this. I don't believe you.
You believe that, don't you?
I believe it when I get my cut.
Well, I never said to flog it.
What do you mean you're cut?
What's that?
You what?
Aye.
Oh, you can get lost.
Yeah, you did nothing.
No, except say it was a load of rubbish.
So it was. But he's flogged it and I want my cut.
Oh, no, Stanley. You never made no contribution.
It was my hardboard, my paint, wasn't it?
Oh, that were coppers.
Yeah, it was the work of art that fetched the 20 quid.
And you didn't even know it was a work of art, did you? So you're not on.
Yeah, I mean, I said it was nice. She said it was nice. You said it looked like a dog's dinner.
And you're going to share that between you?
Got it in one, Stanley.
Well, you might buy me a drink or something.
Aye. I never even seen it in the frame. Did it look nice?
Oh, it was lovely. Anyway, you'll see it soon enough.
Am I going to get me a drink?
Not down the road, Stan. How about the flying horse?
Well, come on. Where is it? I mean, where will I see it? Who's got it?
I'll tell you when we get down the flying horse.
You tell me now.
Well, you'll see it yourself tomorrow.
Where?
Well, you'll probably see it every day of your life, actually.
Well, where?
When you're cleaning.
You are?
It's hanging on Annie Walker's parlour wall.
You flogged it to Annie Walker?
Well, she flogged it to herself, more or less.
Oh, Eddie.
Oh, flipping heck.
Just tell me one thing, Mrs. Walker. Are you going to stick it up in here in your living room?
Where do you think I should hang it, Bet?
Well, I wouldn't like to be so vulgar. I just hope you're not going to put it in here.
Don't you think it'd make a nice splash of colour?
I think it'd put them off the rail.
Oh.
You know, looking at it, I think it's quite nice, really.
Between you and me, I think it is probably an investment of £20.
You're probably right, but please, will you hang it in your living room?
Well, I do think an original oil painting would be rather wasted on some of our clientele in here.
Morning.
Oh, well, here is the best advertisement for marriage ever yet devised.
Oh, well, thanks, Bet. That's very nice.
I mean, why you shouldn't, not why you should.
I'm not going to take offence. It's only natural to be bitter when you get to be a spinster of your age. But when it comes to me and Stan, there's things going on under the surface that you know naught about. Like in that picture there.
Eh?
Well, that's got hidden depths as well.
How very perceptive of you, Mrs. Elton.
Oh, I'm not behind the door when it comes to appreciating things, Mrs. Walker. New, is it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I only got it yesterday.
What do you think to it, Bet?
Not a lot.
No, well, you haven't got the finer feelings for art what me and Mrs. Walker have.
Does it really appeal to you, Mrs. Elton? I wouldn't have thought it was quite your type of thing.
Oh, it is, yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely my type of thing.
See, I would have thought you liked the more conventional type of painting, you know, vases of flowers, country cottages.
Oh, no. No, I like somewhat what stretches your imagination. You can see all sorts of things in that.
Absolutely. Do you know, it is that deliberate quality of mystery that I find so fascinating.
Yeah.
I bet you'd pay a bomb for it and all. Somewhat of that quality.
Enough.
Is it by anybody famous?
Not yet. But I have the distinct feeling that is going to prove an investment. I think it's only a matter of time before the artist achieves the recognition he deserves.
Oh, it's a fella then?
Ah, well, regrettably as I have to admit it, it's a friend Well, an acquaintance of Eddie Yates. Still, art transcends all boundaries. Don't you agree?
Since you asked, Mrs. Walker, no.
Oh, well, you can't expect no different from the likes of her, can you? I mean, she's not one of us.
I would have called in for it, dear.
No problem. I had to slip back home anyway. I'm still having my long-running battle with the gas board. I'm sure people think there's something going on with that little red van forever parked outside the door.
Haven't you finished in here yet, Mrs. Ogden?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going to start upstairs.
Come and tea, dear.
Oh, no thanks, I must dash back. Gail just started today. Mr. Dawson's kindly holding the fort with her for half an hour.
Hey, what do you think of Mrs. Walker's new picture, then?
Oh, it's, a present.
Well, in a way.
It's always very difficult, isn't it, gauging other people's tastes. Personally, I'd never dare buy anyone something like,
A present from me to me. See, I don't see why I shouldn't indulge myself in the odd extravagance occasionally. Do you approve?
Oh, it's very experimental.
That's just what we thought.
Mrs. Ogden has become quite a fan.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought it was quite your taste.
Now, why do people keep saying that? I mean, how do you know what my taste is?
Well, rather more traditional.
You see, dear, I think it has a kind of basic excitement, a kind of urgency. It is obvious that the artist has terrific vitality. It conveys such an appetite for life. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes, yes. Who is the artist?
Well,
oh, it's not signed.
No, I shall have to have that remedied. I think he was a bit too shy to accept recognition. But I do flatter myself that I have an eye for finding talent.
Oh, she has, definitely. I mean, it's just made this room, hasn't it? I always felt it were lacking something before.
Well, perhaps it is an interesting focal point, but possibly...
Yes?
Well, a slightly better frame would do it more justice.
Emily, you're right. You are absolutely right, of course.
Yeah, you know, somewhat in heavy gilt with little knobs and twiddles on. Make it look really important.
The bedrooms, Mrs. Ogden, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm just off. Only, I mean, you don't want to stint, do you? You know what they say about things of beauty being a joy forever?
Oh, do be careful, Bet.
I'm being careful. I'm the last person to vandalise a priceless work of art. Here we are.
Something written on the back.
Well, if it's out rude, I'm not taking it to framers.
I can't make out what it says.
Oh, I can.
Is it the artist's signature?
Well, in a way, it's a sort of message telling posterity exactly who the anonymous artist is.
What? What does it say?
Stan, have gone to bingo. Your tea is in the oven. It could have been Stan or even Eddie.
That make it any better?
No, I suppose not. How much did this sting you for at any road?
Not the money, it's the principle. I've been cheated, there's no other word for it. How dare she?
Well, I still say we can't be sure it were her what painted it.
Of course it was her. I've been puzzled all day by her excessive admiration for it. It's clearly her work.
Well, I suppose if you liked it enough to pay good money for it, there was clearly no trickery involved. They never claimed it were by nobody famous.
Eddie Yates definitely didn't play it. It was done by a friend of his.
It was.
Oh. How could I have been so stupid as to think that anything produced by that woman could have the slightest merit whatsoever?
But Mrs. Walker, you didn't know it were her what had done it. You wanted...
Well, go on.
Well, what give you a kick? We're thinking that you discovered hidden talent. Perhaps you saw more into that thing than you would have done under ordinary circumstances.
You know, Bet, sometimes you're surprisingly wise.
Thanks.
It was my pride that was to blame, nothing else. I saw myself as a patron of the arts.
It were only one picture.
Nevertheless, I'm telling you this in the strictest confidence.
Naturally.
Because today seems to be our day for exchanging confidences. I was showing off. That's not something I often do.
Never.
No. So, in a sense, I have to say, I was to blame.
Oh, well, 50-50. You're not going to let them get away with it, are you? You're going to tell them you found out, her especially.
No. I don't think so. I fancy I have the glimmerings of a rather more subtle revenge.
This way, Mrs. Ogden.
Well, I know the flipping way. That says you wanted to see me.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Ogden. I was wondering, would you come in half an hour earlier tomorrow morning? I'd like to make a start on spring cleaning the walls in here.
Oh, it's a bit early to start doing the walls yet. It's only January. Bound to be a lot of mucky weather before the spring.
Nevertheless, I'd like to make a start. You see, I would have mentioned it to you earlier, but we got sidetracked on other issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we was talking about the picture. Hey, it's gone. Oh, Bayek, you don't waste any time, do you?
I try not to, don't I, Ben?
Never lets the grass grow, doesn't Mrs. Walker?
No, you've took it to have the new frame put on, haven't you? When's it coming back?
It isn't.
You are?
When the man saw it, he went into such raptures about it. He was so insistent, I just had to let him have it.
You gave it to him?
Oh, no, not a complete fool, Mrs. Ogden. No, I sold it to him at a very fair price indeed.
How much? I mean, what did he give you for it? More than you paid?
Mrs. Walker isn't likely to part with something she values unless she makes a good profit, Hilda. Like she's just said, she's nobody's fool.
Well, what sort of profit? I mean, well, just as a matter of interest, like. What did you make on it? A couple of quid?
Enough to buy myself this, Mrs. Ogden. I wonder, would you mind fastening the clasp for me?
Things with Eddie could only get worse, and when Annie found out that the contents of her bin were being discussed across a public bar, particularly her own, she decided that she would speak to the council.
Could I give you the benefit of my experience? Now, as you know, Eddie and me are members of the refuse collecting team that...
what are responsible for this area, like?
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah, well, you see, it's only a small thing, but...
You mean the tins?
Correct.
He was going to tell you tomorrow when we collected, but he's got a great eye for detail, this lad here, you know.
Well, see, it's about those big soup tins you've got. You know the ones I mean, the big catering tins? Well, if you fill them full of rubbish before you put them out for the bins, you'll get more in. But if you leave them empty, as you sometimes do, now you're wasting valuable bin space.
Look, if you don't...
No, you know the ones I mean, don't you? It's the big £7 soup tins, the catering ones.
Well, what kind of soup tins are them?
You know, Albert, them big catering tins full of soup powder.
Oh, but she said it were homemade.
Eh?
Mr. Tatlock, there are days when it is quite impossible to make homemade soup. Time simply does not permit.
Well, I'm not paying full price. If you charge 20 pence for a bowl of homemade, I'm giving you 10, and that's all you're going to get.
Elizabeth, charge Mr. Tatlock 10 pence. Do you mind not discussing the contents of my dustbin with all and sundry?
Well, I'm sorry.
He was only trying to help Mrs. Walker.
Well, I'd rather he didn't. What I put into my dustbin is between me and my maker, and it is nobody else's business whatsoever.
Like them girly magazines.
Hey, shut up, will you?
Actually, it's very interesting, you know. Very interesting subject, what goes into bins.
Mr. Yates?
I'm talking in general now. It's just that, well, in our job, there's a lot that is of sociological interest, like. I mean, you show me the rubbish, and I will show you the fella. Isn't that right, Johnny?
True. True as I'm riding this bike.
No, be serious. No, it's just that, you see, if I had my way, what I would do is I would team up the dustbin men with the social services. I mean, we could be an early warning system for alcoholics and that sort of thing. I mean, only yesterday, Mrs. Walker, and I'm talking generally, and I won't mention any names because you're right, it is an invasion of privacy. But only yesterday, I was walking down Rosamond Street and there was this old woman tottering she was. Anyway, I helped her across the road, and this morning I empty her bin. Now I know why she's tottering, now I know why she needs help. 7 pot noodle cans, and 56 bottles of cider.
Mr. Yates, do you mind not talking about rubbish? People are eating here.
Oh, right, yeah, Mrs. Walker. I just thought you'd be interested, being a student of human behaviour, like, you know.
I don't dig so deeply, Mr. Yates.
Excuse me, Mrs. Walker.
Mr. Yates?
Oh, hello, Hilda.
What is it, Mr. Yates? I haven't got all day. What is it?
It's this can of hair colouring. Only Arthur's had it in the cab all week, and he said it came from your bin, and it's half full, you see.
Mr. Yates, how many more times do I have to tell you?
I'm only trying to help, Mrs. Walker. I mean, it must cost a bomb, this stuff, and as I say, the can's half full.
Oh, is that your colour, Mrs. Walker? Platinum pearl?
Kindly mind your own business, Mrs. Ogden. Now take that out of here immediately, and you are going to hear more about this.
I don't know why she's flying off the handle. I mean, I wouldn't mind if I was doing her down, but I'm trying to save her some money. I mean, it's half a flaming can of hair colouring.
Not very wise in the ways of women, are you, Eddie? Not very wise at all.
Is that really the cleansing department? At last. Good. Now, can I speak to the manager? Now, tell me, does he spend any time in his office at all? Oh, I see. Well, take a pen and paper and make these notes and put them on his desk for when, if ever, he returns, right? Now, my name is Mrs. Annie Walker of the Rovers Return, Coronation Street, and I am a former mayoress of Weatherfield. Yes, it is indeed a complaint. Now, I will no longer tolerate the team of dustbin men who are at present emptying my dustbins. Understood? I want them changed immediately. Now put that note on the manager's desk and tell him that I require immediate results.
What are we going to do then?
You tell me.
Well, Arthur said to ask the lady if she changed her mind.
Annie Walker, change her mind?
Well, go on then. I'll stand behind you.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Hey, here.
Sir. Morning, Mr. Walker.
Morning, Mrs. Walker.
We've come to empty the bins. Is that all right then, is it?
No, I'm afraid it isn't.
Ah.
And I'm sorry if you're denied the opportunity of investigating what's in them.
Yeah, now, look, Mrs. Walker, now, what we said yesterday, we wasn't trying to be nasty or out like that.
No, I mean, you can't help noticing what you're shifting, especially when you know who it belongs to.
I have rung the cleansing department and made a complaint.
Right.
Yes, yes. We heard about that.
And I don't intend to go back on a word of what I said. I insist on having a different crew to empty these bins, and I must ask you not to touch them.
Fair enough.
OK, Mr. Walker, you're the boss.
I am the right pair, Mr. Yates. Mind you close the gate when you go out.
You can't say we didn't try.
Oh, come on, big fella. He wants to keep it, let her keep it.
Got a light?
I'm glad to see that our disagreement hasn't prevented you from drinking in here, Mr. Yates.
Oh, well, habits of a lifetime, Mrs. Walker.
Indeed. And I trust that everybody understands the situation now.
Yes, well, I think I perhaps understand the situation a little bit better than you do, actually.
Oh, and how would that be?
Well, I didn't want to stir things up, Mrs. Walker, but now you mention it...
Yes?
Well, the fact is, Mrs. Walker, that if we don't move it, nobody's going to touch that rubbish.
I think you'll find that the cleansing department think otherwise.
Sorry, Mrs. Walker. No, you see, you ringing up like that, it rubbed one or two people up the wrong way, and, well, we've had a vote on it, and the Rovers is what's known in the trade as blacked. Do you know what I mean? There isn't a bin man in the country going to touch that stuff till we say so.
I don't think that went down too well.
Hey, I should order yourself a jar scouser, you know, while you've got the chance.
Annie, get your gun.
You should be doing that, all right. All right. Oh, it's you, Alf. You could have been knocking all afternoon. I want to come through for this, Bob. Up to my eyes in it, I am. This time, 3 o'clock. All the glasses to collect, cellar to sort out.
Ah, well, I wanted a quiet word with Mrs. Walker.
There's no chance. We've gone to town, been there, 2 hours, gone shopping. Mind you, she's alley chuffed. Got this rubbish problem all sorted out, you know. She got it cracked. Up. You're in luck. There's Alf to see you, Mrs. Walker.
Hello, Alf. Fry some lemons, Fred. And if Bert's making a cup of tea, could you bring one through?
Righto.
What can I do for you, Alf?
Well, it's about this rubbish, Annie.
Yes, I thought it might be you'd be concerned about the rubbish. Come into the living room.
Well, I'll be straight with you. I'm more than concerned. I'm very worried. I mean, a lot of that stuff out there is waste food.
You're right, Alf. It was waste food.
And waste food brings vermin. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, brings rats. And if you've got rats, Annie, we've all got them.
You're right. I mean, we could have rats if the council had done anything about it.
Well, as I understand it, all you have to do is apologise.
You see, I don't know what I have to apologise for.
Well, apart from the rights and wrongs of it, I think you should apologise. I mean, it could affect my business.
I can see that, Alf. But an apology is out of the question.
Well, I don't think you're showing much consideration for other folk.
Well, instead, I have made an arrangement. Mr. Ogden is going to dispose of my rubbish, and I'm thinking of giving him a contract.
Well, he's not shifted it yet.
Well, he promised he would.
It's still all out there.
Oh, well. Gave him the money at lunchtime, and he gave me his word.
They had it loaded, Mrs. Walker, but they stood guard on gate. They wouldn't let him out at yard.
This is ridiculous.
It's more than ridiculous. It's beyond all sense. Look, if you'll take my advice, Annie, you'll climb down off your high horse because when it comes to things that brings rats, it's no laughing matter. I mean, I'm sorry to be blunt about it, but... Well, anyway, I'll get off. Good afternoon.
He's got a point, I suppose.
Did you have a good journey, then? Back from Derbyshire?
As good as British Rail can make it these days.
Oh, Annie.
Pardon?
Don't matter, love.
Alf, what was it you wanted to see me about? I really ought to have a lie down. I'm feeling very tired, what with the journey and everything else.
Yeah. I believe the brewery's been on to you.
Yes?
Yes. Then there's this petition being organised by Arnold Swain.
Well, I went off that man some time ago.
Yes, well, I've been talking about this business to Ken, you know.
Oh, what does Ken say? Now, does he support my stand?
Oh, yes, he does. Look, well, we all do, like, but...
For what?
Well, he says, Ken says, like, he says, and I agree with him, he says...
Oh, do get to the point, Alf.
I'm sorry, love. Ken says that to get this thing resolved is going to take some wisdom from somebody who is very intelligent. That's before it sort of gets out of control and becomes a national issue.
How'd it do that?
Well, look who's involved already. I mean, there's your brewery, there's your council, there's the public, and there's the press. Now there's going to be some very strong pressure for some action. And then what happens? The bin lads dig their heels in, they ask the union for support nationally. Before you know where you are, there's not a bin being lifted throughout the land. Now, whoever could stop that is going to be congratulated, aren't they? Handsomely. By Margaret Thatcher herself, I shouldn't wonder. That is, if she ever hears about it in the first place. But as Ken says, it's going to take one of the parties to be wise and intelligent enough to see that.
Do you know, Alf, I have been thinking exactly the same thing. Perhaps I should apologise to those stupid bin men for the sake of the country. We don't want another winter of discontent, do we?
Although Annie was frequently at odds with the other residents of Coronation Street, she was loved by all. Bet and Betty organised a surprise party for her 40th anniversary of running the pub and arranged for a very special guest to be there. Afterwards, when Annie looked back on her life, she felt she had been very lucky to have had Jack, her family, and all her friends in Coronation Street. We too have been lucky to have enjoyed a large part of that time with her.
Oh, smashing! You've got the Joanna sorted out. Stan, put the food on these tables.
By heck, I've earned that pint.
Will you wait your sweat and stop yattering? I can't think now. Have we got everything?
Everything but the leading lady.
A pint of bitter, please.
Hang on a minute, we're trying to sort things out. I think everything's straight and most of the people are here, love.
Right, Betty. Go and get her through.
Okay.
Now remember, when she comes through, give her a bigger ring.
I'm only trying to get a pint, I can't get one.
Look, give over, you big soft lump. Haven't you supped enough?
I've supped out yet, have I?
You will be, Colin.
Mrs. Walker, have your minute, lovey.
Well, here I am, Elizabeth.
Yes. Hit, hit!
It's a little party for you. We've laid it all on, and all you've got to do is just enjoy it.
40 years at the Rovers' return with you, Mrs. Walker. That's what we're celebrating. Come on.
She's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
I'm very moved. I don't know what to say.
How about takes all round?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Mr. Ogden, you've solved my problem perfectly. Elizabeth, Bet, since everybody has a
Right, all the very best, Mrs. Walker. Everything you wish yourself.
Congratulations.
We hope to see you for many years to come in the Rovers, darling.
Thank you. It's a wonderful gesture. Everybody's been so kind.
And we're all very pleased to be part of it, Mrs. Walker. But I gather it was Bet and Betty's idea.
Well, I'm as fortunate with my staff as I am with my customers. Elizabeth, Bet, I'm very touched.
Oh, it's a great pleasure, Mrs. Walker. Just enjoy the evening.
Mrs. Walker, do you mind telling me something?
Yes, dear.
You've got your best frock on. You only ever wear that for special occasions.
That's true. And I think I know what you're suspecting. But you see, dear, after 40 years on these premises, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that escapes my notice.
Well, I'll be blowed, and I thought we'd kept it a dead secret.
Well, Mrs. Walker, there's at least one thing that you know nothing about. Len, will you do the necessary if we're all set?
Certainly.
What's she up to now, Elizabeth?
I don't know, Mrs. Walker. It's as big a mystery to me as it is to you, loving.
You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0!
Hello, Mum.
Oh, Billy, what a wonderful surprise. I can't help thinking how your father would have enjoyed himself tonight.
Hey, he liked this place, didn't he?
He loved it. Always something of a mystery to me, but he did.
No, you're not going to let this party get you all depressed, are you?
No, no, I'm just wondering where the 40 years have gone to. It seems like no time at all.
Well, a pretty packed 40 years, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. We may not have lived through the most gracious period in the history of the world, but nobody can say it hasn't been eventful. They've been happy years, Billy. Not all of them, of course. But I do know I've been a very fortunate woman. With your father, of course, and with my children.